Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our episode of Food Equity, which is kind of a cool thing. This is the Courageous Curiosity podcast. As you know by now, we talk about questions that pique our interest, and we want to kind of dig in and dive in a little bit more. And as always, I have incredible people here with me today, and even more interesting today, we have never had food on our actual episode. So I'm excited to see. I don't even fully know what this is, but I think I'm going to learn a little bit more about that. Really talented people that work with our students in the district, and also we have parent on the show. We have a student at our high school who I happen to know, and this is going to be a really fun episode. So today we're going to be talking about food equity, and specifically why it's so important that our kids have food in school, and why student nutrition is such a big deal. And I think a lot of people in recent months in Michigan have become a little bit more in tune with this topic because of the fact that we're now offering free lunches and free meals. And that's a surprisingly controversial issue in some cases. So, and I think that I can understand why. So we're going to unpack that a little bit as we always do. But before we get into that, I would love to have our guests introduce themselves. And we're going to start all the way over here with Deborah Beeker. So go ahead, Deborah, and introduce yourself, and we'll kind of go around.
Yes, hello. I am Deborah Beeker. I'm a parent in the district. I have a second grader and a fifth grader. I serve on the Superintendent's Food Service Committee, and I also work as a lunch aide at Novi Woods. That just means that I'm in the cafeteria helping the students get through lunch.
You have a really interesting perspective as both a parent and a noon aide at the elementaries, and seeing what lunch is like actually in those buildings, and the vast differences between what a kindergarten needs help with getting lunch versus a fourth grader, but and also being on our food service parent advisory committee. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Neel.
Hi, my name is Neel Archis Manish, and I am a junior here at Novi High School. I honestly love the cafeteria food. I have had free food for my freshman year and also my junior year, which is this year. I am on the Superintendent Student Advisory team, and I really like working with you.
Yeah, well, we like working with you too, and you probably didn't want to divulge this, but you were also a star in the recent school play. Tell us just a quick segment of that.
We did a musical called The Little Mermaid last year, and this year our fall play was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which is a play based on a novel by Mark Haddon. It is a really good drama, and I was glad to be a part of it. Our director is awesome, Miss McKegg, and I just really like acting, and I was also the student director, not to brag.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I know you don't like to brag, but I was trying to brag for you because I went and it was amazing. Just the talent that you and our students have is amazing. And it was a great story too. It was a great story.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Ms. Sinclair.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Sinclair. I've been here in Novi for a little over 3 years. I've been in National School Lunch Program and food service for over 15 and started out as an executive chef. That's
awesome.
me.
Well, it's great to have you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Susan Rudnick. I've been working here in Novi for the last almost a year, coming up on a year. I'm the executive chef for the school district, so I oversee all the different schools and make sure everyone's following standards and procedures. And I get to do some fun stuff like come up with different menu items. There's a really great program now called Global Eats, and it features Indian food, Italian food, China, and Mexico. And pretty soon there will also be Korean and Caribbean added to that.
Wow.
This is my first time working in school food service. I come from a restaurant background, so it's been really amazing to see the kind of stuff that we do here through Chartwells and all the great food that we can offer to the students. So it's great.
That's amazing. And we're really fortunate to have a chef on our staff, somebody that comes in and helps us think outside the box about our recipes and things like that. And Kim, I know that you do, as the person who's kind of running the food service program in our district, I know you do a lot of that work. Talk a little bit about this free lunch program. So, the state comes in, the federal government comes in, they say we recognize that we want kids to eat and we don't want that to be a burden on families. So we're having this free lunch. So talk about how that's going and maybe some of the things that you've seen this year that we did see a couple years ago, and we had it as well. But what are some of the benefits and positives that you've seen?
The positives are the equity in the cafeteria, the equality that we have. Nutrition is more than just, how do I say this? It's not just about food. It's also about being in the classroom, meeting and talking with your friends. A lot of our students, especially during COVID, were on screens. This is also getting them back into the system where they're talking to and engaging with other students. I feel that that's important. Not only it helps in the family, but it teaches your students and your children to be able to eat as a meal. And so I love that part. I also love the part that it's also free breakfast. I feel that a lot of students in the morning, especially here at the high school, I can speak for that, they are tired, they don't want to make breakfast, they don't want to do anything, but then they'll meet their friends in the cafeteria and they're like, oh, let's just go and get something to eat. And then they'll have that. We have cheese sticks, so there's protein. We have a lot of options that students can choose from, and it has really improved. Last year, we would serve around 50 breakfasts. This year, we're almost at 100 here at the high school. Every elementary school is over 100 for breakfast. Lunches, it has changed the way we serve lunch. Because of how many students, especially in the elementary, that we're feeding. The volume.
Yeah.
We're over at Woods, we have about 415 students. We feed on average 350 kids every single day for lunch.
Wow. That's incredible. And I know that this free lunch program, which I think is amazing, and I really am glad that both as a parent, I have 4 kids, so I'm thinking, wow, I don't have to put lunch into the account every day. But it's also, I think it's also really nice to eliminate that stigma, right? Of, okay, well, if you didn't have lunch in your account, then you're going to be in this situation where you have to ask for, a free or reduced lunch application and all of those things. So I think one of the things that's really nice from an equity lens is that it really kind of levels the playing field. Everybody has this as a situation where, hey, we're going to school and we need to, we know that kids that have food in their bellies do better and all of that. I do think, though, there's a reasonable conversation that's happening out there. And some people would say, well, hey, somebody that's making 6 figures or whatever, they can afford to pay for lunch for their child. And why is this being subsidized kind of at that level? So I've heard that. And I've also heard this idea of food waste. So I want to talk about both of those things because I think this is kind of the counter argument, or if you will, just the discussion that's out there in somewhat of a controversial way about this idea around food equity. So and I'll turn this over to anyone that wants to answer. How do you feel about that idea of like, hey, some people could and would willingly pay. I would be one of those people, right, that could pay for my child to have lunch. But we know that not everybody is in that spot. But what do you say to that question that kind of comes up in that space? Anybody?
Well, I'm going to start with, we don't know what's going on in people's homes. I also believe this is helping with the grocery bill. If people can't afford groceries, this is another benefit to them. And I think we don't know that. I understand 6 figures. They may send their student with lunch then. But I think that as on average, we are feeding more students. And unfortunately, because the meals are free, a lot of our families did not apply for free and reduced applications. So that does put a little bit.
Which is kind of a bummer because that application helps a variety of other programs at the school. So we definitely want to make sure we encourage people to do that, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's a big deal. But the other kind of, again, I would say controversial issue is this idea that we're making all of this food. So many more people are participating, but maybe not everybody's going to eat all of the things on the plate. So you have this big amount of waste, right? And so the concern then is that we're just wasting more food that's not being taken. So Neel, Deborah, are you seeing that in your circumstances and situations?
So at Novi Woods, it's nice, I think, with the amount, the preparation that the food service has thought about. With everyone buying lunches when it's free, it's going to obviously make the numbers a lot bigger. So on the elementary level, they got rid of the a la carte. And we're actually seeing kids finish their lunch because they get their lunch choice. They've got 3 choices to choose from. They go through the salad bar, they get their fruit or their vegetable, and they get to pick which one they're actually going to eat instead of, placing that on their tray. And then they go sit down and eat, and they actually are finishing up their meals a lot more so than when we had a la carte choices and a lot of extra choices for them. It was almost too much. And so now they have exactly what they want to eat, and they go, and we're seeing a lot more kids actually finish their lunch.
It's so interesting. So what you're essentially saying is because they don't have the ability to buy that bag of chips or that ice cream cone or whatever it is,
Yes.
that they're actually finishing more of their food than they did previously.
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
That's
Yep.
interesting. Neel, as a high school student, what are you seeing in terms of food waste? Do you see this as a bigger issue than it was previously, or about the same? Like, what are you seeing in the cafeteria?
I think from my freshman year, I remember a lot of the people like throw away the extra, or it's part of the meal, correct? The side on the side, it's either broccoli or baby carrots or an orange or apples. I hate to see people throw it away, but I do. And it's awful because they're perfectly nice vegetables and fruits. And obviously I can't eat 50 apples that people might throw away, not in a day at
Put
least.
some in your backpack, right?
Absolutely. You can, like, there's so many people that do after school activities, and it would just be nice to absolutely put it in your backpack, have it after school. But unfortunately, I see people tossing the apples into dustbins, and it's not that nice.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I've seen that too. One of the things that I think maybe a lot of people don't know is that there are certain requirements that have to be met. So maybe one of you two can explain, what does a meal consist of from the standpoint of, when I go up there to get my tray and you're putting an apple on there and I don't want the apple. I'm telling you, I don't want this apple. I don't want these carrots or whatever. But you have to have some of those things in order for us to be able to serve that meal. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
The government has come up with standards that they have scientifically proven that are nutritious meals that students have to have, which include grains, whole grains, which we use, fruits, vegetables, lean protein, and we try to give a great variety. I think depending on the station in which a student goes to, at our pizza station, we know that students just want pizza, but they have to take a fruit and or vegetable. So we have made these salad bars. So usually we have a Caesar salad in there. We always have some type of fresh broccoli, fresh apples and oranges. We try to cut the oranges in wedges. We find that students would eat them if they're cut for them instead of having a whole orange. Susan has really looked at our menu a lot and did some revamping on what we have in our extra bar. And I think that our numbers have increased, and we've have fresh cut fruit. How many times a week now, Susan?
Yeah, that's a big one. The fresh cut melons and honeydew, that's really nice addition to it. And the grapes, I think we do that like at least 3 days a week. Yeah.
So we
Pretty
kind of
often.
figure out what we're using, what we can afford. We do have to stay within, because it is free. We have to keep in the budget, but we are keeping up with that, and we are making sure we're adding those on.
Yeah, so I want to kind of segue for a second to something Susan said. So, you talk about honeydew and these fresh fruits. So when I was in school, and even when I was in high school, which was a long time ago now, when I got to the lunch line, it was basically an ice cream scoop of, mashed potatoes, and they would just, it was whatever was there, it was what you were eating. And I'm looking at something in front of me here that is very different than what I had the opportunity to eat as a student.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about what the options are and how just diverse our offerings are to our students, because I don't think a lot of people fully grasp that.
Yeah, so for example, this dish here, this is the Korean beef bulgogi dish with a side of sesame, soy, carrots, and an egg roll. And
Do we get to eat this?
You do get to eat it.
Oh, okay. Are we
Please
supposed
feel
to?
free to unwrap and eat it.
All right.
Also offered on this station today for vegetarians, because we do have a high vegetarian population, there's the option to have tofu with the
Wow.
same sauce. So you can either get beef bulgogi or tofu.
And it has the same sauce, just with the tofu instead of the beef.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So we try to do that a lot, especially on the Global Eats menu. We always have vegetarian options. And we have like a salad bar. You can build your own salad if you're a vegan. Our deli station, it's like build your own subs, like a Subway. Just so many options. The build station features build your own little flatbread pizzas, so that's really fun. There's a lot of customizable stuff. Sono station, that's our most popular. That's the nacho bar. So people can put beef, chicken, beans if they're vegetarian, and then they get to pick all their toppings. And we've actually expanded that to a double station now because it's so popular. So, and those numbers have increased.
So we're feeding almost 360 to 370 students in the nacho station.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's really good stuff and fresh toppings, fresh house-made pico de gallo and stuff like that. So it's really cool. But the Global Eat Station is a really fun chance to feature different cultures, foods, and I personally love Indian food, and like Asian foods are my favorite. So it's really fun to get to.
This is delicious. Like I never would have had something like this. I mean, I would order this at a restaurant. So kudos on this. I'm going to keep eating it while we talk, but is this what you see when you come to the lunch line as a high school student? I mean, you have these types of options?
It is, and it's like really good that it's not just two options. It's a variety, and I'm so glad that there's a ton of new options from different countries too, because I absolutely love Indian food. I've grown up eating a lot of it. And it's nice to see that what I used to eat is like there, and I can eat it too. It's just nice, and I love trying new foods too. And yeah, this is like delicious. I love it.
Thank you.
Super
Kudos to our head chef Dee. She made this dish.
That's really good. Yeah, I think when we had our State of the School event this past year, when we opened up the food service lines, the parents were just completely astonished by what the foods were because we didn't have this when we were growing up, you know? So Deborah, talk a little bit about how maybe what the elementary students have available to them. I know that one of the decisions that was made in terms of like healthier choices for our younger kids was we're not going to do as many snacks and those a la carte items. So what does it look like for them? Like what's a typical menu look like during the week?
Well, I think the elementary lunches are great because they do cater towards elementary kids. You know, an elementary kid, while this bulgogi dish in front of me is something that I will sit here and eat and eat and eat, you know, not many elementary kids are that what do you call it? You know,
Their palate isn't
as advanced. However, we do have a lot of international students, and I feel like sometimes maybe if we introduced maybe small little bits of it, we actually might be surprised at how many students would try it. But at the elementary level, it's definitely catered towards those your general tastes and stuff like that. But they have 3 choices, which is wonderful. There's always kind of like a simple, what do they call it? You know, like a cereal fun lunch. So it's a bunch of little nibble bites, and that's perfect for elementary kids because elementary kids take forever to eat. You know, they bite, they nitpick and stuff like that. So having little bite-sized bits for them, string cheese, yogurt, a little bit of cereal, fruit cup and stuff like that, it's perfect because it's bite-sized for them. And then there's always one of the hot dish lunches is usually something like, you know, the kids actually really love it was the drumsticks, the chicken drumsticks, or I think they're chicken or turkey, but chicken, the drumsticks, you know, and then they either get like mac and cheese that day, or sometimes it's like a little potato wedges and stuff like that. So it's a really nice, good, warm meal for them. And then they go to the salad bar and they get their veggie and their fruit. And then like the other option is something more, I would say more like comfort food wise. So it might be a grilled cheese sandwich, stuff like that they're more familiar with. So it's always, but I see a wide range of kids, what they select. I mean, there's never one meal that encompasses the other two. Like some kids like the easy one, some kids like the comfort food one, and some like the more adventurous meal. But they're all really nicely geared towards elementary students.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Susan did do a mood boost over at Woods with the fried rice. Do you remember that?
Tell me about what a mood boost is. Is it just like I'm in a better mood because I had fried rice? Is that what it is?
Oh, I
Oh,
would.
okay.
Everyone?
I mean, okay. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
No. Susan does a lot of research on some things. We did a mood boost, and I'll let you talk about that. But also, Susan, if you could talk about the student choice that we did at the middle school and how the students were. We did Indian, and I would like you to hear what one of these young men said to us. Were you there when he said it?
I don't know. There was a couple things. There was a girl said something really cool to me. What did the kids say to you?
Okay, so we did Indian food. We did butter chicken and a chickpea curry basil at the student choice for at the middle school. And this young man came up to me and he asked me for my name. And he said, I need you to know this is really good, but it's not like my mom's.
Of course.
And
It better not be.
I said, I know, I'm really sorry. He goes, but I'll tell you what, I'll email you what my mom uses, and then you can make it next time.
Wow,
I
that
was
is
like,
amazing.
wasn't that sweet? I thought that was, he was so polite too.
Yeah.
So go ahead and, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. They loved it. What the girl said to me was she kept coming back to see which dish won because they get to vote on their favorite dish, and then it'll be featured for like we're gonna feature it in December. We're gonna do both because I think we're gonna do both because we feel bad. So the one little girl
love
kept
it.
coming and checking. Did the vegetarian win? Did the vegetarian win? Well, it didn't. And at the end, I was like, no, sorry. And she's like, do you think I could get a little more? And I was like, sure. I gave her a cup. She's like, this means so much to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet to see their reactions. That's the point of these student choice and mood boosts. They're to get the students involved and taste the different things we have to offer. The student choice, again, is to get something featured on your menu. We're going to do one here at the high school in January, so that'll be fun. But the mood boosts, those are geared more towards the elementary students, and there are different moods. There's happy, calm, alert, strong, and something else.
Yeah.
Confident.
Good job.
Yeah.
They get like little stickers and coloring pages, and the meal is based on like what minerals or vitamins that food contains. So like egg was smart because it contains
Protein, which
Protein.
nourishes your mind.
yeah.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
Thank you.
We're a good team.
So yeah, it's really fun. The kids love it, and they get really involved, and they're so polite. Like I said, first time in school food service, it's been really awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely appreciate that. And I hope that when you do the mood boost with the Caribbean food, I love Caribbean food. So when we
Okay.
do like jerk chicken or something like that, I'd love to come test that out. But one of the things that I think a lot of people might think about is, okay, so you're offering this free food, and now that you're offering this free food, obviously the quality has to come down, right? So what we were offering before is obviously at a certain level, but now that it's got to be free for everybody, we're going to back off on the quality, the selections. Open-ended question for any of you: have you seen a degradation in the quality of the food since we've started offering it for free?
I have not. I mean, at the school, I think the bigger issue is just getting some of the food, from suppliers. We kids were very surprised when we had chocolate milk in like more of a juice box, thing. Because they're like, wait a minute, that's not chocolate milk.
That's
We're
not
like,
the
well,
real
it
thing.
is. It's just in a different container. So I think it's more, we have not seen any degradation in food things, but I think it's just harder for our food department to actually get certain things. So there's been a lot of swapping last minute, we were hoping to have pancakes today, but instead we have French toast sticks or something like that.
Yeah. Supply chain has been a real big issue for us. So that's why we are really talking to our parents with allergies to make sure that they're reaching out to us and not always just agreeing with what's on the menu. All of our managers are allergy fair checked certified. So that helps us. But we would hate sometimes, occasionally, some student is not marked properly in the system. And so that could be an issue. So
I would just say the quality of the food has, in my taste, definitely not gone down in any way. I used to get different foods when I was freshman, and now even I go to like all of these different counters, and it's like really good food. There's this I don't know, unspoken rule that high school cafeteria food cannot be good, and I just don't think that's true here. I honestly like the food.
Yeah.
And I just say it to everyone who asks me, "Oh, you get the free food?" I do. It's really good.
Yeah.
That's right. I love it. Well, I can't thank all of you enough. I guess a couple things that I would take away from this. Number one, we are definitely here in Novi providing an exceptional array of diverse food offerings. We have a diverse community, and it's nice that we're able to offer a diverse offering in terms of the selection that people have and students have the opportunity to select. I definitely think in taking away from today, there's some things that we can do to continue to be proactive on food waste, and how do we find ways to make that, mitigate that waste, but still receive the benefits of our students eating regularly and eating together. It's a really neat thing to see. But for anybody that's watching this episode that this has piqued their interest, what's maybe one thing you'd just like to leave people with? We'll start, Susan, with you, and we'll go around this way before we close up today.
Oh, no pressure. What I'd like to leave people with. Well, you should definitely eat the school lunches.
That's good.
It's not like we had it in school for sure.
It's different.
Always give us feedback, talk to us. If you have an idea, tell one of our cashiers and they'll tell me, and just interact with us, and don't be afraid to tell us your opinion. And, of course we do have we have to follow recipes. So that's why it can never taste just like your mom's, but we're always open to new ideas for sure. So
Love it.
talk to us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would second what Susan says. We are here to improve our skills, and we want to make sure, this is the biggest restaurant in the city right now.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
we want to make sure we have the customers happy.
Absolutely.
Don't throw away the food. Give it to me. I'll eat it. I'll eat it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Give the food to Neel.
Give the food to Neel.
All right.
Let's start that.
I
Hashtag.
think as just being in the lunchroom, especially at the elementary level, encourage your kids that lunchtime is a great time to socialize, but it's also your time to eat. They do have a smaller window to eat because of the amount of lunches that are being bought. So just to keep working with your kids on making sure they manage their lunchtime to the best that they can. We walk around and we encourage them to eat, especially those ones that are picking at their food, but definitely that's one thing that we can help those younger ones with so that they can enjoy all that food.
Thank you. And thank all of you for being here. This, I know, taking time out of your day. These are things that we hope our community will learn a little bit more about what we're doing in the district. We appreciate this as always. Stay tuned for our next couple episodes. We have about 3 episodes left in this season. This season will wrap up in December before we launch season 2 in January. So stay curious, and thank you to everybody. Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.